There we go.
I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Warrenville Public Library District. No, I'm not calling to order the regular meeting. I'm calling to order the budget and appropriation hearing of the Warrenville Public Library District on Wednesday, September 20th at 7 p.m. 7:01. Yeah, thank you, Heather. Keeping me on my toes. So we're gonna do a roll call. Trustee Lazan. Here. Trustee Pika. Present. Trustee Schmidt. Here. Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Richardson. Here. Trustee Stoll. Present. Trustee DeRocher is here, and so is Executive Director Stolman, and everybody else. All the other department heads. Many of the other department heads. Well, she kind of goes into that. Other people. And assistant to the director. Okay. Are there any public comments on the budget and appropriation ordinance? There are none so far. So we do need to leave this open for a few minutes in case anyone happens to wander in. Is there anything online?
No, no one submitted anything.
In the meantime, if you haven't had a chance to look at your agenda, let's do it.
We're prepared here.
That is always the case with you, always. So.
It was fun putting together my first one.
Good.
Hopefully next year's easier.
First time is always the first.
Yeah.
Because you think, you know, I thought we were supposed to be making these like.
Well, I started not. I'm just using this.
I do at home, yeah, but they still make it.
Oh, no, you just tell not to.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Connie was the one who was inspired me. Look at you showing up with your computer. I think I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, I noticed there's two of us.
There will be three next.
I keep forgetting to bring mine, so.
It's kind of nice, you don't have to have a big packet.
Yeah.
You know, figure out how to recycle or save it or whatever, you have it saved on your, you can save it so it's folder.
I read it on there all the time.
Watching cartoons is what she's.
They're playing.
Yeah, playing free cell. Do my puzzle.
Wordle, do your Wordle today. One more minute.
It's that one
Three.
usually.
Give people a chance to mosey on in here.
Hear ye, the polls are closing in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll watch them.
Where's our vacation? Really?
That's a big place.
Yeah. Where in Europe?
I will be, we're taking a Viking River cruise.
Oh my
On
gosh.
the Danube River.
Oh,
Nice.
my parents, when I went several years ago, and loved it.
I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I'm taking a Viking trip in there next week.
I'm going to Europe next spring as well. I'm gonna be in Normandy
It's
for
the
the
best
80th anniversary.
Yeah.
of-
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
All right, I am going to, if there are no, are there any trustee or staff comments on the budget and appropriation ordinance? Staff, any comments? Good job. All right. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
right, can I have a second? Moved by trustee Warren and seconded by trustee Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. All right. 7:06. Good, and now I am, oh, do I need to wait? Do you have to put on a different one?
Turn this off.
Now we're recording. I am calling to order the regular meeting of the Warrenville Public Library District Board of Trustees on Wednesday, September 20th, 2023 at 7:06 p.m. We'll do a roll call. Trustee Lazan. Here. Trustee Pika. Present. Trustee Schmidt.
Present.
Trustee Warren.
Present.
Trustee Richardson. Here. Trustee Stoll. Present. Trustee DeRocher is here. And so is Executive Director Stolman and various department heads. Thank you all for attending. I really enjoyed having you all here, I have to say. We're going to move on to approval of the agenda, and I think we do have a closed session here. We do not need it, do we? Or anything? So, any other changes to the agenda?
Nope.
All right, so we're striking 19.
Oh.
All right. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Lazan and seconded by trustee Pika. Yep. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. Now we have a presentation by Paul about hoopla, one of my favorite things. Will it still be one of my favorite things?
Yes.
Oh, good. After your presentation.
You'll have a better understanding of this, the back end of it.
There.
All right. So tonight we're going to be talking about Hoopla, which is one of our ebook services here at Warrenville Public Library. It's not just ebooks though. You can check out e-audiobooks, comic books, movies, TV series, music, and a thing called Binge Pass, which is essentially like a bundle of magazines or like video lessons and whatnot. Some things to think about or to know about Hoopla when you are using it. You are limited to 10 checkouts per calendar month per person that uses it. That was moved from 5 in 2020 when people couldn't come into the library, so we allocated more money towards Hoopla versus the print collection since people were still able to check that out, but it still remains at 10 checkouts per month. Members can use the app on their devices or in a web browser on any computer, but it's available on both Android and Apple's like iPhones as well. Like I said, the Binge Pass is just a group of materials, so it's kind of cool. That's a newer function of Hoopla within the last couple of years, and we don't get a lot of usage out of that, but I feel like the magazine portion is used a lot compared to the educational aspects of it.
It doesn't include newspapers?
I don't think there is a newspaper function.
But if you like, I noticed it recently, if you like Hallmark, they have a Hallmark Binge Pass, and it looks like it has dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of movies and episodes.
And a thing to remember with the TV series, it is checkouts per episode, not per season as well. And that's going to come into play in kind of like the pricing, which I'll explain a little bit later. Go back one. I guess I should talk about what we're going to be covering, how the service works, which I just mentioned, how billing works, which is the most important part, some statistics and insights. You'll see the usage rising over the last few years, the difference between Hoopla and Overdrive / Libby, and then we'll get to questions at the end. Thank you very much. All right, so how does billing work? So Hoopla is a cost per circ model versus a traditional or metered model, which Overdrive runs with. They also do have cost per circ, but how we use it is different. And what that means is every time an item is checked out by one of our members, we are charged for that item. There is a cap that we set, which caps items at $3.99 per checkout, if you will. Not everything costs that much, but it just means that everything under that value is available to check out. So since we set it at $3.99, everything that Hoopla offers is available in the catalog. So it's there. We're not necessarily paying it for it to be there, but only when someone checks it out. So anything that's priced $4 and up will not show up at all in our catalog, which is how that works.
What kind of percentage is it? What's more than $4?
Some of the I know audiobooks, it depends on the publisher. I believe, I don't know exact publishers, but some of the more popular stuff is gonna be about that price point. Oddly enough, like DC Comics is at like the $2.99 to $3.50 mark, which are more expensive than Marvel, which is odd. But there are stuff that may show up in other people's Hoopla collections that doesn't show up in ours because their price cap is higher than $3.99. And at the end of each month, we do receive an invoice, and all those purchases come out of the ebook budgets. We used to have a invoicing model where we bought credit and it's subtracted, and it was very complicated and hard to keep track of. But we've now simplified it by just getting a monthly invoice and we pay it that month instead of having to worry about that. Next slide, please. All right, so this is just a quick snapshot of the reports at a glance feature on the admin portion of Hoopla. So this is year to date. So this is January 1st up till now, or whenever I made this, which was a couple weeks ago. But so it's total circulations on Hoopla alone through August was 9,665 checkouts.
Nice.
Yes. However, the amount we spent for those checkouts was 20,995. Yes,
Wow.
That's huge.
it is.
And we only budgeted, what, 32 for this time year?
Correct. Yeah.
Or,
But so this is calendar years, it's not fiscal year.
right,
So this
but
is
still,
about 9 months.
it's still a
in.
big number.
Correct. It is. Yes.
Okay.
And that's the issue that we'll be discussing.
The checks we're signing tonight for the most recent bill, I think might be our highest bill yet.
Correct. Because usage just keeps on climbing. So the average cost per circulation is $2.14. So some may cost way less than that and some hit the max. But within this year, we have 145 new patrons joining the service, which is great. 684 unique people that are using it. So that is a pretty big jump from, the 145, from 684. That's a pretty big jump for just the last 9 months, if you will. And then the average circulation per patron is 14. So that's
Per
average
year,
for just
oh, for that time period.
just that time period. Correct. Yes. So the amount of new users definitely spiked in 2020, obviously, because everyone had to use or get ebooks at some point.
Well, and also, everything is available.
Correct. Mhm. Yes, they did have a lot of free passes and everything on their extra checkouts as well. So a lot of people started using the product and obviously kept using it. The new users definitely dropped after that, but it still kind of remained steady and since then. But, yeah, so there's an average of 240 people, being added per year. So we're probably gonna reach that again, I guess. So circulation by format, books, ebooks are still the most popular format on here. You would think, like audiobook is still, is 50% of that book, or 55% of books. So actually audiobook is the biggest format on there versus ebooks. But books in general are the biggest one. Which makes sense because audiobooks have gained popularity in the e-format for the last few years. And you'll see that on Libby as well as like the popularity is presented us. All right, so who is using Hoopla? So what this graph kind of tells us is how many people are using the 10 circs. So everyone gets 10 a month. So a lot of people are actually just doing one circulation per month, which is surprising because I figured how much we're spending, that a lot of these people are just maxing out with their 10 checkouts, reading whatever, and then waiting for them to renew next month. But it is kind of nice to see that there's a lot of people just dipping in and out, using the service as needed. If something's not available on Libby Overdrive, they check out Hoopla. It might be there quicker. So that would kind of surprise me seeing that. So I'm gonna show some differences between the Hoopla app and the Libby app, which is powered by Overdrive. The way we use it is that Hoopla is cost per circulation, and then Libby Overdrive is what's called metered access and one user access. So with Overdrive, we buy the rights to a book, whether it's 52 checkouts or use it for 2 years, and then that lease is done, if you will. They also do have a cost per circ, but we don't use that particularly because we use Hoopla in that sense. But the main difference is that it's a one-time cost for a book, and they have that many checkouts. The problem with that is that you buy a book for, let's say, $90. It has 52 checkouts on it, and make it 12, and then you kind of wasted checkouts on it, if you will. But the other side is that is Hoopla, where people just keep on checking things out, and it does rack up the costs in the end. So there's obviously cons and bonuses to each. But if you look at the total budgets that we spent on both of them, we budgeted $35,000 for this fiscal year and about $20,700 for Libby. But the wait times is a big difference. There's 0 days because it's instant on Hoopla, and the average wait time is 55 days on Libby, which sometimes it's even more. The nice thing about both of them is that you can actually transfer purchases to. So if we ever wanted to just consolidate to one ebook platform, we can. It would take a lot of, I don't know if we would ever want to do that, but it's possible, if you will. That's one of the options we'll talk about later when we come to some cost saving measures in that sense. So these are the overall circulations for the last 3 fiscal years. Overdrive is actually going up each year in circulation, where Hoopla is kind of staying steady, but slightly rising over the last year. And I broke it down by each category here. Ebook still dominates in Overdrive, and let's see. Yeah, audiobooks on Hoopla kind of surpass the ebooks as well. So audio is definitely down. But again, Overdrive has a higher overall circulation. It's costing us less money in that sense, so it's something to consider as well.
There's
But-
definitely more available on Overdrive, you just have to wait on it
Correct. And
because of our $3.99 cap.
right, and with Overdrive, we are part of an ebook consortium called eMedia Library. So we pay a platform fee, which gives us access to books, but all those other libraries share their ebooks with us, and we do the same for other libraries.
So at some point, are we gonna talk about whether we can increase the money towards Overdrive so that we can decrease the wait time? And maybe shift some of those resources from Hoopla?
It's a possibility to, yeah, well.
So one thing that'll, as the e-media library does, everybody that's participating in that, we all put money towards, correct me if I'm wrong. We all put money towards a holds manager, and generally, I think, I don't know if there's a cap, but usually when enough, like, the next 5 holds trigger or are placed, then it triggers the purchase of another copy to try and mitigate the number of holds happening.
Yeah, I believe
But-
it's 10 holds per copy. That's the ratio.
There's something to place it to try and address it, but when that's been around longer, it is the more popular platform.
Correct.
And if we get, a really popular book that's getting tons of buzz, and you get tons of holds at a certain point, like, well, there's buying extra copies, you're still gonna have that really long wait because it's treating it just like a printed book. If there's only one copy per user.
Yeah, it's still a 3-week checkout, so depends on someone returns it early, but you can possibly get it sooner, but still, it's definitely a longer wait time.
So if you ever, as a PSA, if you ever are using Overdrive and you finish your ebook, return it, as opposed to waiting for it to expire, because there might be somebody else waiting for that book. So,
If you
and if you
waited-
are waiting for a book, you want somebody else to do the same for you, so.
I do it right away.
You waited like 6 months for it and then they took it back when you were 80% done. That's, we're not
That
clear
is-
about that.
Yes. So here's just some price examples again on Hoopla for the cost per circulation, what some of the most popular titles are costing per circ. So obviously, the Harry Potter ones are a little bit more expensive. Some of the more known authors and thriller authors are definitely more expensive in that sense. You'll see some TV thrown in there. So one TV episode is like $1.75 for circulation. So the whole season is gonna cost quite a bit. Next slide. And then here's just some average prices on some of the publishers that are available on Hoopla. Like I said, this kind of surprised me that they're one of the highest ones, minus Pimsleur down here. Some of them are pretty cheap. Surprisingly, it's pretty cheap. And they don't have access to all the publishers either. That's another reason why.
And
we
I'm
do
not
have-
seeing Random House.
Right.
Putnam or Penguin.
They're out of the price range, unfortunately. But that is a reason why we do have Overdrive as well, because there are titles available on there that we can't get. So it is an argument to still continue with both, but there is definitely some, we do need to make some possible changes. I believe. What's next? Yes. So this is from last September, what we've spent on a monthly basis for Hoopla. I believe when it was down to 5 checkouts max, I believe it was around 1,100 per month at the time. So it's definitely doubled, if not more, per month, which makes sense. We doubled the amount of checkouts available, but some months obviously are getting close to the 3,000, which are the more recent ones. Yeah, there are some ways we can slow it down, which we will be talking about now. Some options that we can do. We can lower the overall circulation price to $2.99. See if that works. See if I don't know if this would go over well with the public, but to lower the amount of checkouts to 7 or 5. But again, people, the highest number was 1 checkout per, per person, so.
The second highest number was 2.
Right, so I don't know if that would actually drop it significantly or not, or just anger some of the power users, which I don't know. You could place a monthly budget, but we did try that, and it
I
does.
was not.
Hence why we're having Hence why we're having this presentation.
Yeah, so let's say I cap it at $2,500 per month. What it does, instead of using up the month's cap, it installs a daily limit. So once people hit the daily limit, no one else can check anything out. So if you're a night owl, check stuff out after work or whatever, most likely you won't have a chance to check anything out because the daily limit has been breached. So I don't like the way that they do the monthly budget, but that's how their system works. So I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Because obviously it didn't go over, we weren't expecting quite the way it was going to happen back in, what was that, May, where all of a sudden everybody was having checking things out.
Right.
But it was because, it took that, the cap that we had put, divided it by 30, and then all of a sudden, like, when I did the math, I was like, oh, that's like, I don't know, 12 checkouts a day. I'm like, no wonder everybody's having a hard time
Exactly.
checking everything. So,
Yes. And then last, which is a very major thing to do, but we could merge the 2 collections. So what Hoopla has asked us if we were interested in taking all the stuff we purchased in Overdrive to bring it over to Hoopla. Because with Hoopla, you can do that, the metered access as well. They just have different publishers available to them. Overdrive is the same thing, but we don't own anything to bring over, so I don't know how effective that would be. I probably wouldn't do that just because of the different publishers and books and titles available, and each one are unique. But that is a possibility. So any questions on any of that? Yes.
Didn't you say that we had about, that maybe I misinterpreted this, approximately 700 users of Hoopla?
Correct.
And
Yes.
how, was that the year-to-date number?
It was, yes, yeah. So that's not overall, that's just unique.
Do
to
we
this
have a
year.
number for that, for Libby or Overdrive?
I don't, but I can definitely.
I
Find
was
that out.
just
It's-
curious which
yeah.
had a greater, if there was any marked difference between usage.
There probably is pretty similar, I'm assuming, but I don't know. I don't want to say that for sure. Yeah. But I can.
And then if we had roughly 10,000 library cards, which I think is a pretty good number, we're at 700 of those library card people using Hoopla.
Mhm.
And that amount we're spending is going for not even a tenth of that library cards. I wasn't math major, but
Right.
I'm
Yes,
just looking
it's
at
a
how we're spending our
significant number.
money.
Mhm.
You have a population of 10,000 people who could possibly use. There's only close to 700.
Right.
That's a pretty small group of people using.
I would like to respond to that, Jerry, by saying that we've got increased usage of.
I know, but
Hoopla
it
and
still is
Libby,
at this point a very small amount of the 10,000.
But it's the active people
Right.
who are using their
But
cards.
I
as opposed to
think we
people
need
not
to
using
look at that number as well, though, when we come to budget things. Is
I mean, like
that,
how we can increase
Yes.
usage of the other card holders.
because if you're spending, well, and that number's gonna go up, what you're spending, the more people you get on that. So it's a really important thing to know we're going the right direction. You know, you don't want just a small group of people determining how we're gonna spend, because that takes away from people who don't even use the I know it's the wave of the future, but we still have a lot of people who want hard books. And we have to think about them as well,
Yeah, there's still
in my
that-
opinion.
Yeah, that's still the number one. Different items. trees are gone or something, I don't know. But yeah, I can't see that changing. But yes, it is a small amount using a significant amount. So,
Is there any way to measure, say, an age demographic? And I mean, I guess depending too on, when you're saying a user, you're just talking about, say it's a family of 4. Now, so each one of those would be a unique user then? There's no way to.
it depends, it would have to, so a family can use the same login if they wanted to.
Okay. But they'd still be limited by that 10. But if they, technically, if each one had their own account, it would be 40 then.
Correct. You would need a individual email address and password for each user, but yeah, it's very possible.
Because I guess I'm just, say versus Gen X versus Gen Z or whatever, if it's, say, more teen oriented versus, say, adults or say over 60 or, if it was more housebound people, that type of thing.
Right.
I mean, I know there's no way to really track that type of usage, but just curious.
Do we have age demographics attached to our cards?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
It'd be hard. I think that was like even 2 years ago we dropped.
Yeah, each card has, we have the birthdays on there, but we don't categorize them juvenile cards or adult cards, so we don't track that. But each card has a birthday, so each card has how old they are. But we don't have it, we don't have that category, we don't fill that category out. And some of the other libraries in the consortium.
I mean, obviously it wouldn't be tied to the login, there'd be no way to know that.
Yeah, exactly. I know, just looking at previous reports that adult fiction and adult development fiction is the highest circulating, like. Type of
In
material. In Hoopla, and definitely overdrive. So the majority of the purchases are adult fiction.
I think that a consideration that we're talking about, and then we're talking about budgeting, and I guess it would just be general public figures, not our figures, but disability is a definite consideration in this.
Would it be possible for us to get a comparison? I could do it look at the budget, but this budget of Hoopla, the budget of Libby, compared to the overall materials budget. Like what percentages are both of those of the overall materials budget?
Are audiobooks part of this, I suppose?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, e-audio, ebook.
Okay.
Et cetera.
And then how do renewals, automatic renewals work? Is that a per charge per month or whatever it is, or is that
So that,
just?
there is no automatic renewals luckily in Hoopla. However, you can check it out again, so it will be another charge. In Libby, there is a possibility to renew it if no one's waiting for it. And it would just count against one of those meter uses, or if you own it, then it would just, you would just check it out again. But no one else would be able to check it out if they were to place that note. So that's more kind of like a traditional lending model.
So you may have already answered this, Paul, but why would we not go to the metered model with Google?
I think, yeah, I think just from feedback at the desks, people appreciate that they can check it out right then and there. I think it's the access, instant access is a huge plus when it comes to Google, but it has added up over the years, expense wise. But that is a possibility. We can.
Which if that same budget, would we be able to purchase a lot with it?
I think with, yeah, I would say so, because with Overdrive, it's about 20,000 comparatively. But we also do have that bonus of being consortium, so we do have a lot of other titles being lent to us. At
It
that
doesn't
point,
have a consortium.
we do not. But I can get some numbers and see what kind of collection we could be able to build right away with the same amounts.
Well, if we want to hold our costs and not end up
Right.
being like,
Yeah.
then that might be something to consider.
I mean, definitely if it's gonna continue to grow the way it did this past year, I'll be able to do something. to
Yes, I agree.
Curb,
That's my, yeah.
curb the growth. It's one of the, I like all the offerings that Hoopla has, but I dislike the pricing model because the more popular it is, which you always want, the more expensive it is. But I will generally say as soapbox, which frequently the public does not realize, is that whether it's Hoopla in this price per shirt model, or whether it's Libby in the metered model, publishers are not making it cost effective for libraries to purchase items. So if you wanted to buy an e-audiobook or ebook, say through Amazon, I'm gonna make up numbers, it'll cost you what, between $15 or $25 for that book. For the library, they're charging us anywhere between $60 and $100 for that same book. And then, while we disagree, the publishers disagree with us, you know, they think, oh, a book will only last on the shelf for those 12 or 24 checkouts. And then it'd fall apart, and you'd have to buy a new copy. That is their rationale for doing this metered model. So once we've hit that many checkouts, it goes away, and if we want to continue to offer that book, we have to repurchase it and spend that, whatever, $80 again. So and like Paul mentioned, like some publishers aren't on Hoopla, some publishers don't let us buy books on Libby either. So it is really the publishers are kind of controlling the game. They're setting the price. Some of them don't even want to let us borrow or lend ebooks at all. And so it's good for you to know. It's good in case, you know, the public asks you questions, because frequently people are like, why isn't this book available? Well, it might be because the publisher's not going to let us buy it. Or a lot of them will do a thing where for the first 3 months, they won't let us buy it. And then after they've had a chance to do that initial sales, then they'll let us purchase it. So sometimes people are like, I don't understand why you don't have this book. Well, it's because we can't buy it. They literally won't let us. So, and then right. So it's hard knowing that both models are expensive and have their disadvantages. Like Hoopla is, the more popular it gets, the more expensive it gets, but also it can be really frustrating on Libby when they're charging such exorbitant prices, and you know, you've either got 2 years to own the book or 24 checkouts to own the book, and then it's gone. And it's just, that's not really how an actual physical collection works, but they use that rationale to charge us that. So so that's my soapbox, but I just wanted to put that out there. What was that?
Must have been a lawyer that done that.
Sure was, yeah. I think they did, when this all started going, I think they took it as an opportunity to be like, we can change this model and make more money. We don't like the fact that libraries, you know, buy a bunch of copies and check more. Let them keep them indefinitely. In my mind, they're losing money because we would buy so much more if they actually made it affordable to buy. And I would think, like, we're spending a limited amount of money on a select amount of books and authors. So therefore, there's only, you know, those handful of authors that are reaping the benefits.
Right.
Whereas if they made it more affordable, we'd buy a broader range or multiple copies of a book, and therefore authors would benefit more, and more authors would benefit more because they'd be purchasing more. But they don't let us do that. So
Can you go back to the cost saving slide? No, this one, yes. So do either of you, I know you don't want the monthly budget and you're not convinced that combining to one service, but of the top two, is there a preference between either of you that would be the best effective?
The easiest one would lower the cost per
That's where
shirt.
I'm going.
Yeah.
Because if you look at that slide, almost 75% of the people would not be affected by dropping it.
Yeah, I was curious to see that previous slide or two where it showed the bar charts
Yeah.
of how many people were checking out that number of things.
That one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so
even
So we would-
if you went to
7,
7, you'd have 10, 14. Yeah, not that many.
Now, if we did the first two things, both of them, it really wouldn't affect that many people.
no, that's,
We reduced to $2.99 and capped it at 7. I only went past, it used to be 5. I only went past 5 once in the early days. probably past 5 pretty regularly.
I think,
Yeah, used to it. I don't blame them.
I'm one of those 19 people at six.
I cost you a lot in August when I had COVID, sorry.
Sometimes you get a book and you decide that, oh geez, this isn't at all what I was thinking.
Yep.
Do you have to keep it a certain number of days before they charge you for that?
it's a charge.
Jeez.
Second is check
And then you
out.
check out.
Yeah,
Per checkout, jeez.
yeah.
To Barbara's point, I might suggest we do one of the options to see what the results are, instead of doing the two of them together.
Mhm.
Because it may not be necessary to do both of them, or you wouldn't know what the effectiveness is of your choice.
Mhm.
If you did them together, you don't really know what caused the situation to improve. You just know you did two things. Maybe going to 7 to see how that affects it. And then if that seems to be working, then maybe going to 5 and seeing what kind of feedback you get from the public. Maybe that's all we need to do. We don't have to tinker with the $3.99 versus $2.99. Just a suggestion.
So I have a question. When you're talking about the $3.99 versus $2.99, does that mean like the $2.99 limits, like are there tiers, like say, is there a $4.99 tier versus, so some of the things like say, some things on the binge pass wouldn't be available because those cost $3.99. And then say some of the books or audiobooks or television wouldn't be available because they're in the $3.99 versus the $2.99.
Correct, yes.
That's why I wasn't sure of, so.
Yeah, so anything, if we do set it to $2.99, anything above $3 would be hidden in the catalog. It would not be available to check out.
So is there, I'm not sure if I missed the slide, is there something that does show, say how much is checked out, $3.99 versus the $2.99?
They do not give me that information.
Okay.
I did inquire about that, so. Yeah, they wouldn't tell me like how many above $3 would be checked out. I'm sure I could probably download the entire month's and sort through it, which, I mean, it might be worth checking out.
Maybe it's time for an intern.
I'm sure I can delegate that to someone in-house, but yeah, I mean, it'd be worth seeing how many times it actually goes over that.
You're only upsetting about 50, 55 people. And that's not even half of the people that only check out one book. I don't know that, and are they consistently the same people? I think that they hit their max for some summer reading type thing and that's. it's not
I would
something-
assume, these are pretty consistent. I'm sure a lot of people just burn through audiobooks or TV series and mix out. And I'm pretty sure that's consistent.
This is just July.
This is just, this is just,
Suppose we could try and run the report in multiple months and see.
Yeah, that would
Very
be helpful.
Yeah.
So you're not inconveniencing the majority or even.
right.
Well,
If we cut it
it's
down
the
to
check of balancing how many people we're gonna inconvenience versus saving some money. Like, we wanna save some money, but we don't wanna inconvenience the majority of people.
No.
No,
Either
you're
you're
not.
We
You're
wouldn't
not.
be.
Right, so,
And there's new users every
Oh.
month.
so if that's what you're saying, the bonus is, that's its cost saving, we can save a little bit, but it's still not, but we're not inconveniencing the majority. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but they might not even notice it.
Right.
That's what I think, that's what we would love. The 10 people, the people with at the very, very top over there, they're gonna notice it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
But, like I said, 70% of those people aren't even probably notice the difference unless it's summer reading or something like that.
Maybe they take out a whole thing and then just hang on to it for the last 3 months and work through them.
Well, and then they
bring them
won't,
back.
get- yeah, they won't get it.
piecemeal,
But they
so-
have a limited amount of time they can have checked out, right? You have to turn it in.
Correct.
Yeah, all the ebooks and audiobooks on Hoopla are 3 weeks. A lot of the episodes and movies are like 3 days, I think.
You know, 6, 7 days.
I'll bet you wouldn't even,
7 days or 7. It's definitely less than a week.
I'd go with the lower number for first and then see if you want to increase it. I don't think you're gonna see any ripples at all.
Paul, thank you for this great
course.
presentation.
Yeah.
I want to move the agenda along a little bit. Could you circle back and just give us any thoughts or updates on stuff, or whenever you're gonna, I'm not sure when you're gonna make the decisions. Probably pretty soon, if you're gonna not use it that much. So,
Thank you, Paul.
thanks,
Thank you.
thanks so much. All right, we're gonna move on to, there was no correspondence, correct? All right, we're gonna move on, or public comments, yeah. We're gonna move on to the consent agenda. Secretary Stoll.
Item number A, approve minutes of the August 16th, 2023 regular board meeting. B, receive and file financial report for August 2023. C, adopt ordinance number 23-24-02, budget and appropriation ordinance for 2023 through 2024 fiscal year and certificate of authenticity. D, adopt resolution number 227, resolution to determine estimate of funds needed for 2023 through 2024 fiscal year. Item E, approve chief fiscal officer certificate of estimated revenue for 2023-2024 fiscal year. Item F, adopt ordinance number 2324 -03, approving resolutions of amendment and amended intergovernmental agreement with women.
All right, thank you, Secretary Stoll. Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Motion and a second?
Second.
All right, so motion was made by trustee Warren, seconded by trustee Schmidt. Is there any further discussion on our consent agenda? All right, then we're gonna go ahead with a roll call vote. Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Pika. Aye. Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson. Aye. Trustee Stoll.
Aye.
And trustee DeRosa votes aye. Well, moving on to our regular agenda, item 8A, if I could have a motion.
I move that we pay invoices in the amount of $51,380.11 for the period of August 17, 2023 through September 20, 2023, including electronic payments and checks number 9554 through 9600.
I second.
Motion was made by trustee Pika and seconded by trustee Stoll. Is there any further discussion regarding approval of payments? All right, hearing none, we will go with a roll call vote. Trustee Stoll.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson. Aye. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika. Aye. Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee DeRosa votes aye. Item 8B. I can have a motion.
I move that we transfer $160,000 from commercial checking account to the operating checking account.
A second. Motion was made by trustee Pika and seconded by trustee Stoll. Is there any further discussion regarding the transfer funds? No, then we'll go ahead and the roll call vote. Let's start in the middle. Trustee Warren.
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt.
Aye.
Trustee Pika.
Aye.
Trustee Lazan.
Aye.
Trustee Richardson.
Aye.
Trustee Stoll.
Aye.
Trustee DeRosa votes aye. Motion is passed. We have no unfinished business. We're moving on to new business, which is on page 74 of your agendas. The first draft of the levy ordinance discussion. Jason.
All right, well, so the overall increase from, for the proposed levy from the extension that we had for fiscal year 23 is a 10% increase. So as Sandy previously explained to me, which was very helpful, and just hearing at the Directors University some of the details about it. So there's the PTEL law, which is the Property Tax Extension Implementation Law. So we can always, the tax extension, which is the amount of taxes we will actually get, we can increase that by either 5% or the consumer price index rate, whichever is lowest. So this last year, it was 5% because inflation was high, so CPI was over 5%, so 5% was our lowest number. So the same this year, so we will get a 5% increase. So in levying more than that 5%, doing the 10%, which is what I'm doing, that is, I don't entirely understand the exact mechanics of how it works, but that is to capture any new growth or added value to homes. So if there's remodels, if there's a new development, a new building, whatever, that may not have been getting, having the tax applied to it before or at a lower rate because it wasn't worth as much, by over levying, it manages to capture that growth so that we're not losing out. So some people see that and they panic and go, oh my gosh, you're raising my taxes by 10%. No, that is not the case. The county will automatically roll us back to the exact allowed amount by the fact that we have over levied to capture that growth. Again, the exact mechanics of how that works, I'm a little unclear on, but that is what everybody has told me, is that that's just how it works. So
A fine explanation.
So that's what we've done in the past, by maximizing the amount of levy. We could do, a 2% levy, but then we're not maximizing the amount of our increase, and you can never get that back. So if we only did 2% this year, it's not like next year where we're like, you know what, we really want to get 7% to try and recoup what we didn't levy for this year. You can't do that. That doesn't work. So from what I understood previously, you all were in favor of trying to maximize each year because then we can keep up with building costs, salary costs, all the rising costs. And if for whatever reason we end up having, too much in a year, then it can go into the special reserve fund for future savings for building projects or automation projects and whatnot. So, and considering at the moment with the new benefits this past year and whatnot, since we're running that little deficit, we're not gonna be over. We're not going to be transferring into the special reserve fund for the next couple of years, I don't imagine. So, but generally, just to keep up a healthy budget and hopefully savings in the future, that's what you did in the past. In order to, you didn't have to go for a special referendum to do the renovations in 2017. So you took out a loan, but you were able to do a lot of it with just the savings that you had by maximizing the levy every year. So that's what I've done. I followed suit and modeled what Sandy had done previously. So the little chart there at the bottom shows you what our 2022 extension was. So using a 5% increase, that's 108,000 and change increase. And the next number is totally estimated, hoping to capture an extra $20,000 maybe in growth. So our projected 2023 extension would be the $2.2 million. So for a hopeful net gain of 128,000.
All right, does anyone have any questions for Jason? Okay. Thank you.
First one down.
What was that?
First one down.
First one down. It was certainly a learning experience. So I definitely, I learned a lot. So.
All right, we're gonna move on then to item 10B. And that is on page 80. Your agenda, approving revisions to policy 310 of hours of operation. Seems pretty straightforward. Do you have anything?
I move to approve the revised policy number 310, hours of operation as presented.
Second.
Motion was made by trustee Stoll and seconded by trustee Warren. Further discussion. Do you have anything you want to add?
Just that we had this policy in place that had the days we were closed for holidays. Last year in September, I believe, Sandy presented to you the holidays for 2023, which you voted on, which seems slightly maybe redundant because we already had this policy that listed all of them anyway. But the only difference between the two was closing at 4 p.m. on July 3rd, since the city does all the parade festivities and we participate in the parade, so it seemed like that's going to continue to happen, you might just roll that into policy, because then each year we don't have to go reapproving the holidays, it's just already part of the policy, unless something, you know, around Christmas or New Year's is different that we want to close next day or something.
Well, but you have that in special event category, so.
So I just wanted to modify and add the July 3rd to the policy, so that way moving forward, we don't have to generally go approving the holidays every year.
Any further discussion? Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote. Trustee Stahl? Aye. Trustee Richardson?
Aye.
Trustee Warren?
Aye.
Trustee Schmidt?
Aye.
Trustee Pika?
Aye.
Trustee Lazan?
Aye.
Trustee DeRosa votes aye. So those policy revisions are. Moving on to 10C. Revisions to the employee handbook about floating holidays. This is on page 82. It begins on 82.
I move to approve the revised employee handbook section on floating holidays as presented.
Motion was made by trustee Stahl and seconded by trustee Warren. Want to further discussion now? Speaking of wages.
Sure, so, put in there the draft with all the cross outs. The clean draft included all nicely, but essentially, staff really like this addition that you added last year. It was just a little restrictive for some of the reasons that I mentioned there. A lot of the state and federal holidays that were part of the options were on Mondays, and not every person, especially the part-time people, work on Mondays. And birthday might not fall on a day that you would have worked. So there's these various reasons why it was kind of restrictive. I think we have one person who maybe didn't even schedule all of their floating holidays because it's hard to find one to actually take. So I just wanted to rework it so that we keep the policy and keep it for these reasons. I was explaining to one or two people before the meeting. I believe we need to have these restrictions or reasons to take a floating holiday in place, because otherwise it starts to be just additional annual leave days. So, but we don't roll them over and we don't pay them out when people leave. And so in order to keep those restrictions in place, we have to have this restriction of what it is you're taking it for. But while keeping that restriction, I want to make it more flexible so that, you know, you don't have to take it on the exact day. So maybe your family is getting together to celebrate whatever holiday, but they can't all get together on the exact holiday and it's going to be the next day. So it'd still be nice if somebody, staff person, could still take that floating holiday for that celebration. I think before we just had the staff person's birthday. Some people wanted to take it for their partner's birthday or for an anniversary. So I kind of reworded it to be, you know, celebration rather than just staff person's birthday. I added on, if it makes much of a difference, but we had religious holidays, but I made it religious and spiritual celebrations and holidays. So just generally trying to keep the framework in place, make it a little more flexible so that we can ensure that all staff are actually able to take the floating holidays and not lose them. And also make it so that maybe not everybody is taking the same couple days. I think we had Martin Luther King Day and maybe one other day this year where we still had coverage for the library, but like half the staff were off because everybody, like there was just that limited number of days to choose from, and so a lot of them chose those days. So this way, it'll probably spread out a lot more, so that we're not all gone at the same.
So it actually helps with your staffing too.
It does, yeah, and it doesn't cost anything.
That, well,
It's
yeah.
the exact same benefit, just making it more flexible for people to take, accessible.
You don't get that often.
No,
We like when it doesn't cost anything more.
exactly.
All right, any further discussion? I'm gonna take a voice vote because this is in the employee handbook, so it's not really a library policy. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, the revisions are approved. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna move on to the director's report on page 87. I love that we're gonna refresh that logo. I'm so
Yay.
happy to hear that.
That's great.
Not that there's anything wrong with the old one. I can't wait to see what we come up with.
Same here. Um, They were fine, but yeah, just like, I like the round one, but it's, it's starting to feel a little, when you see a lot of other logos out there, and then you compare it, you're like, oh, it's maybe looking a little.
A little more energy.
So, and while the rooftop kind of design is very distinct, it's also feels a little dated as well. So I'm really excited for what Kathy and David will come up with, to refresh it, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of feedback we get from the community, how that influences it, but having, we did this at, that's right. Having done this, we did this at my previous library.
Message is the same, without a logo, it's, yeah, it's hard.
But I will say at my last library, when we did this, we coupled it with website redesign as well, but we'd had been using the same logo as the village and used it forever. And like the graphic we had was like this really small, tiny, pixelated sort of graphic, so we needed something new. But it was great because we went through this whole thing, so it was a slightly larger project in scope, but you could tell it made a difference afterwards because we had the design of this logo in, a footer design or a vertical design, but like the same elements reconfigured for these multiple uses, and then we could apply it to everything. And I do remember having various people say, like, they started to really recognize what was a library marketing piece, because we were consistent and we had that nice new logo and branding and just the way it was designed and configured and put on everything. So I'm really excited that we can do the same with this. So
Build it around a QR code.
So, did anybody have any other questions about it, or? Oh, fantastic.
Any other questions about the director's report or anything else you want to bring up?
Just wanted to give another shout out to Gail, who presented at the Swan
Yeah,
Expo and did a
yeah.
good job, and the Swan staff were complimentary about her, so it's all for that. We're thrilled to welcome Paridi into member services. Paridi,
Once again,
Paridi. Paridi, Paridi. Paridi.
okay,
I have something on director's report.
Okay.
I think you can fit it in here. So, Jason met with me and did a 2-hour orientation for new people. He put together a whole giant packet. It was amazing. It was very comprehensive, and we just want to let you know, I'm sorry. Thanks to him. Yeah, he did a good job.
all right.
Excellent, excellent. It was a really good introduction.
Fantastic.
I'm happy if anybody wants a copy of that, I'm happy to send it out to you.
Digitally.
That's right.
Yes.
Couldn't hurt, I suppose.
I had several things in my report this month, so if there's anything you want to ask about, feel free. Otherwise, we can-
Anybody?
I think for the IDOC Commission Digital Survey, it sounds as though I heard from Diana, who attended the meeting yesterday. It's going to be less that they're going to host a station, and we're going to have to talk to something about it. So, but they were hoping that maybe we could put something on our public computers, and then we'll just advertise that's where it's located, so they can just come sit down, log into our computers, and be able to take the survey. So if that's, just gotta work out with the company. We have not had a chance to talk about that yet. So it was a busy day with the auditors here. So,
Great.
but hopefully then it's a little less intrusive of having somebody sitting in the lobby and nobody has to staff it. But it does obviously require Duncan himself to make it happen. So we'll see if that is possible or not.
I like the idea that it seems like, it might be a little more private for people, you don't want to necessarily be kind of feel like you're put on the spot.
Right. Hopefully we can do that, and hopefully Duncan is not sitting over there going, what have you done? We can't do that. We will see.
Okay. the department head reports then. Does anybody have any comments about any of the department head reports?
I just wanted to say, and maybe this goes in comments, but we have pictures and all that. I'm glad we're continuing the food drive with the church. There's a great need for that kind of thing in our community. Glad to see, even though it doesn't have the Warrenville designs, it'll still be there. So great job.
Yeah, we talked about it at management team, and I think we've gotten, somebody reached out from COD about possibly doing it, and we just thought, well, that would be nice too, but we didn't want to run two different ones. And we thought, really, if we're gonna go to the bother of doing a food drive, we're gonna do it for our local pantry rather than for COD.
And if you've
So-
ever driven by when they're open,
Oh, they're busy,
there's a lot of
Which-
people there looking for food. So.
Yeah. so we're happy to keep doing it.
I just gotta say, reading public services report and then reading campus marketing report, I'm
Tired.
kind of amazed and proud of all of the things that we do here. And there's a lot going on, and it's thanks to some excellent staff here. So thanks, everybody. There's a lot happening. Happy years, just, this was really comprehensive, and it was great to read all that stuff that's going on.
There's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
Comes and goes through,
And every time I read the report, I think to myself, "God, it didn't, so who did all that?"
And to get started is this tiny little position. So did Duncan's position. It was like this tiny little IT position. Not that long ago, so yay. All right, any other comments about or questions directed to our staff? Nope, okay, we're gonna move on then.
Oop, I just want to say, also thank you to Paul for writing the report and also applying for the new hotel tax.
Oh,
credit.
yeah, oh, yeah,
Yes.
excellent.
So it was a great summer of concerts.
Oh, great.
We already had our
Great.
first indoor winter concert Sunday matinee this past Sunday. So that sounds like it was fairly well attended. It wasn't full, but it was a pretty good crowd. So we're off to a good start for the
Excellent
indoor.
attendance for the summer. You gave feedback that the earlier start for the last concert was well received. Is that something you're considering?
It might be, yeah, I try to ask as many people as possible, find out to like the earlier start time. And people really appreciate it, still really well attended at 6 versus 7. Definitely consider. It's
So
such a
fun
nice
to
difference
see. All the ages, and a little earlier, it's kind of nice for kids to play.
Yeah. Yeah, so many ages. It's
Yeah.
great.
The walkers, the.
Alrighty, I just want to remind you guys from the president's report that we do have an earlier meeting next month because we have the great and wonderful decennial committee on local government efficiency at 6 p.m. I was gonna say 6 a.m., but that would be a really long meeting.
really early.
Yeah. 6 p.m. we're meeting, and so please go home and have some dinner and then show up. We'll be here at 6 to do that stuff and then do our regular meeting. And then truth and taxation public hearing will be in November, but that'll be a similar situation to tonight, where we'll just wait a few minutes to see if there's any public comments. All right, treasurer's report.
Well, as everybody can see, DuPage County gave us a bunch of tax money. Right now, we're at 92.3%, so pretty good.
Good, excellent. Secretary, do you have anything for us?
Well, if I can use this as my general trustee comment, I am grateful that we do not have issues that some of the other libraries did with contracts for whatever reason.
Very grateful.
So, and, you know, Jason kudos to you to reviewing procedures with staff in case something like that happens, because sometimes you do need a refresher. You know, you think it's never gonna happen here, you just don't know.
All right.
And if I can say a comment on that,
Uh-huh.
the American Library Association put out a very good comment about all the bomb threats and stuff. And saying that this is not freedom of speech, the hate and the threats. And how it's interfering in the exchange of ideas and things. It was a really good statement.
Nice, okay. I don't think we had any committee meetings this last month, so we are on to trustee comments. Any further trustee comments? All right. No further items for information and discussion, so we are on our last item.
Move that we adjourn the meeting.
Not yet. Motion was made by trustee Schmidt and seconded by trustee Lazan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Sorry, the majority has it. We are adjourned.
8:12 p.m.
Rick will be here at 6 AM too.
Yeah.